Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
And my name is Parker, and let's have a chit chat.
Perfect. You did it.
Oh,
Good job. I'm
nailed it.
yeah, you nailed it. Like I'm impressed. Some people, believe it or not, some people mess that up. And by some people, I mean a lot of people.
Really?
It's a lot of pressure,
It
uh
is.
to
You're in
to
front
say
of the
that
camera.
sometimes for people. So
Yeah.
like you did good. I'm very pleased. So
Well, I'm glad that I could deliver.
yeah, we're off to a good start here.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone to another episode of Chit Chats. Welcome Parker to the show for the first time.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about some interesting stuff today.
Sweet.
Because Parker, little known fact about me and Parker is that we both go to the same college, Oregon
Hmm.
State University.
The
Um,
best.
yeah. Oh yeah. And
Hmm.
we both. I think like the interesting thing is like we both like we're both obviously friends. Like we like bond over a lot of stuff, but we've had like pretty, I'd say, fairly different experiences.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
like different
Yeah.
ways, and I kind of want to explore that today. So that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So, and I might expose Parker along the way. We might.
Yeah. Yeah. I might get exposed a little bit.
Yeah. There might be some dirty secrets revealed. That'll be the
Yeah.
title,
Yeah.
actually. Parker's secrets
Yeah. Yeah.
revealed
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
That's gotta be. That's gotta be it. You've got to do
Yeah.
that.
I got to do that now. I got to get the people enticed. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
You got to clickbait a little bit.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how you got to
Yeah.
do it. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess first, right off the bat, you break the ice. Parker, you are in a fraternity. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Yes.
That is correct.
And what is the name of that fraternity, if you don't mind?
The fraternity is Phi Gamma Delta, or like it's commonly known as just Fiji.
Right.
It's just that's just its nickname, which is kind of funny. It doesn't really, I don't really know how it derives from that, but yeah,
Right.
it's
It's
just
just
Fiji,
that.
like the island.
Yeah, it's just like a cool name. Like that's what I remembered your frat was named. Um,
Hmm.
and you've been in this frat like pretty much like right when you entered college, right?
Yeah,
Uh
yeah.
huh.
So I joined when I was the fall term freshman year, just because I was going to campus and I was kind of, it was COVID too,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
the opportunities to meet people were pretty low. Like when we got to the dorms,
Right.
like you couldn't keep your doors open. Usually, I heard like when you move into dorms on a college campus,
Mm-hmm.
the doors, like everyone opens their doors and they all go talk to each other and meet each other, and like there's a lot of friendships that form in that time. But
Right.
because it was COVID, like we were all forced to keep our doors closed and like
Yeah.
we couldn't have everybody over, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was feeling like, okay, I don't want to sit in my room and like having zero outside people in Corvallis
Mm-hmm.
at all. Like it felt kind of lonely. So um, I was like, I got to join a fraternity because my dad also was in a fraternity when he
Right.
went to Oregon State, and he was in the same fraternity.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so he really pushed me to join. Honestly, like I was pretty skeptical of it, but I went and talked to some of the guys. We did a Zoom rush, because rush is like it's recruitment basically.
Okay.
So there's a week where there's all these events. Each day is an event, and you show up and you
Mm-hmm.
keep showing up, and they'll eventually give you what's called a bid card.
And is that
And if you sign
normally?
the bid card,
Oh, sorry. Um, I was just
uh,
gonna ask, is that normally like something that you would do in person, or is that like?
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it
I
is
was just
something you do in
curious.
person.
Uh
So
huh.
you do rush in person, and it would usually be like some event, like for example, like a basketball tournament. You go to the PG house,
Mm-hmm.
because the fraternity house is pretty big, and ours has a basketball court in the backyard, which is pretty sweet.
Mm.
And so we do like like basketball tournaments, dodgeball tournaments, stuff like that. Usually,
Oh,
if it's
okay.
if the weather's nice,
Yeah.
then so yeah. But because I did it on Zoom, I just like met a bunch of people on Zoom, and I was like, okay, these people seem pretty cool, and they gave me a bid card. And if you sign the bid card, then you're like what's known as like a new member,
Mm-hmm.
which means that like you go through this process called well, we call it pledge ed, but it's formally supposed to be called new member education, to be like more like less pledgy, because that has really bad like there's been a
Oh,
lot of like
yeah.
hazing stuff that gets associated with that. So like
Right.
usually like it's called new member education,
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
and there's like no hazing or anything. Like I didn't get hazed or anything like that, which was
Yeah.
which was good. I was
Is
nervous
it
about
is that
that,
the
but
first
that didn't
secret? Is
happen.
that the first Parker secret that you
Yeah,
actually that you got
yeah.
hazed?
But I got hella hazed. No,
Yeah.
yeah, but I was they're not a hazing fraternity, which is cool, and
Mm.
that I never experienced any of it. And so, but when you're like a new member, um, you kind of go through it, and you go through this education process, and they give you this thing, like this book that you read from, that like has the history of the fraternity and like the values of the fraternity and all that. You kind of learn it, and yeah, and
Hmm.
you're a new member, and you do your thing, and then eventually you just become a member.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so
Cool.
that's basically how it started. But anyway, sorry, I got off track there.
No, you're good.
I joined because I wanted to meet some people, and I just said, screw it, I'll join a fraternity, even though because with COVID and the opportunities were pretty low, and
Hmm.
I don't regret it. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like as an outsider, it seems like it's been a really fun experience. Definitely
Yeah,
a unique experience from just like because I feel like probably not the majority of people that go to college are in a fraternity or sorority. So like
yeah,
it is like I think it's a really cool like opportunity to have for people. Because I mean like for the most part, I know like not all or I'm sure like not all fraternities are created equal. You know.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely there are yeah. There's definitely kind of there's a lot of different houses with different like personalities and stuff, and it kind of
Yeah.
comes down to who you are as a person.
Right. Yeah. For sure. But
Yeah,
it
and that's
seems
what the
like
rush
for you it's
process
been
is
really
for
good.
too. Yeah, yeah, it
Hmm.
has. It's been good.
That's good. And so like yeah, and so you kind of mentioned how your dad was in a fraternity. Is that also like a big reason why you wanted to join one for yourself?
Yeah. So growing up, my dad like has had these friends that he made while he was in college and in the fraternity. And he has friends outside of the fraternity that he made in college too that have always kind of been around me
Yeah.
growing up. And so that was kind of a template for me that I kind of realized was like I want to have friends like these that are lifelong, and like I feel like when you join a fraternity, you're kind of forced to be around these people a lot,
Yeah.
which sounds bad, but like it's good in a sense because you have like being around people a lot, kind of you learn a lot of things about living with people,
Yes.
and b just like a lot of social, like you socially develop a lot because you're just around. It's a very uncomfortable because like going from living in your own room and like you go from the house with your parents to living in a house just full of guys that
Yeah.
are your age, and like you have to have a roommate, and like
Right.
it's kind of uncomfortable. Like the showers, there's like communal showers, you have to be comfortable with that, and
Hmm.
there's just a lot of like getting out of your comfort zone with it.
Yeah.
And it kind of creates an environment where people are able to become really good friends, I feel like, and I've made some good friends through it. And my dad, he did the same, and so I was like, that sounds great.
Hmm.
That was a very big motivator for me joining, along with like the situation on campus with COVID. And yeah, and it's been cool to talk to him about it because his experiences have been different from mine, and we exchange stories and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool. It's like it's another way that you get to share experiences with your dad or share like a commonality with him,
Yeah,
right? Which I think is really cool.
totally,
Yeah, and
totally.
I think like overall the thing that I really seem to like about fraternity. Well, I guess this kind of ties into the next question I was going to ask you, but like um well, okay. Like it seems like a really big aspect of it is like the community aspect, right? Like getting like really well acquainted with this
Yeah.
specific group of people. And would you say
Mhm.
like for the most part it sounds like that's been like a pretty like in terms of like after you were in it and like being in it for like as long as you have been like that's
Yeah.
been a really successful part of it is like that community building aspect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, totally. Totally. And you do a lot of things. There's this thing called Greek Week each year, I think. I think it's winter term each year.
Mhm.
Where you get like paired up with a sorority, and you and your fraternity and the sorority, they like compete in like challenges. And sometimes not a lot of people do it, sometimes they do, and it's fun. And there's also philanthropies where you can participate in like a sorority, like usually like fraternities participate in other sororities philanthropies, and there are different, like for example, Kappa Delta, one of the sororities across the street, we just did this thing called mock rock,
Mhm.
where you like assemble like a team of people to like do like a sing and dance routine together
Oh, okay. Yeah.
for this like competition.
Mhm.
And so they do this, and it's a way to make money for whatever cause they're supporting, and all the fraternities compete, and that you want to get the be the champion or whatever. But in
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff, you you get to do these things with your friends that is also outside of your comfort zone. And I feel like it kind of builds that like pride and like, okay, we want to represent our house pretty well. So we want to do this well. And I feel like it definitely creates a better sense of like community in that sense. And then
Yeah.
also just living together and talking and just, you get home from class and there's people on the landing upstairs and you just kind of sit and BS with them for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, uh, all the meals every day, you usually all eat together because all at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of time that you spend hanging out doing that. And then just like you can just pop into people's rooms and just see what they're doing. There would be people playing like Smash Bros and stuff, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, there's just like there's all sorts of stuff going on, and it's cool in the sense that you do get to have that like sense of it's your house, like a lot of the people in it, and you run into them on campus and say hi to them and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I feel like it sounds like it really not only does it get you well acquainted with these people, but it also like gets you more involved in like, in these activities and potentially like events around campus or like the school itself, right? You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, yes, totally, totally, and yeah, it definitely. I feel like it connects you pretty well with the school because there's a lot of on-campus events that a lot of fraternities and sororities are encouraged to go do.
Mhm.
um, which is cool in the sense that you go, it gives you an excuse to go on campus and do something.
Yeah.
Um, Along with we have so every fall and spring, so we have fall formal recruitment, which is like rush week, like I was telling you,
Mhm.
and there's spring formal recruitment, so there's spring rush as well. And at the end of each of those weeks, there's this thing called Jump Day, where all of the people who like signed to your house and every other house, we all go to the quad at the MU,
Mhm.
and then they like say your name, and then you run and jump into a crowd of whatever house you join, and then they catch you.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. It's something that it happens like twice a year, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I like that. I feel like
Yeah,
yeah, that sounds like a fun like sort of like just exhilarating thing to do, right? Like gets you kind of
yeah,
hyped, right? That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And I guess like kind of just like on the topic of like exhilarating stuff, like, there's sort of like this like very stereotypical viewpoint of like being in a fraternity, right? Like it's like, oh, there's like
Mhm.
parties every day or every week or and it's like,
Yeah,
there's kind of like I feel like there's like this sort of like perception of what like a person in a frat is like, you know what I mean?
yes,
And
yeah.
like I don't know, like what is that kind of like kind of like having that stigma around it, like kind of like what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people that are like that, like that fall into that
Hmm.
stereotype, especially nowadays because fraternities are, like you said, like there's a lot of stigma around them, and so people are very averse to joining them.
Hmm.
But something that I really like about my house specifically is that there's a lot of different types of people. Like it's not just that like stereotypical like frat bro dude,
Yeah. Hmm.
And I like to think of myself as not necessarily like that either.
Yeah. Hmm.
But and there are houses that kind of there are is a diverse group of people that isn't like let's go party, but there are people that are like, oh, let's go party
Yeah.
and do stuff,
Yeah.
and
But
yeah,
you
stereotypical
don't have
frat
to
bros.
be in a frat to have that mindset either, you know what I mean? Like
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. But what I've because I had that stigma when I before I joined, and it honestly has changed quite a bit because I
Hmm.
initially viewed it as like a way for guys or girls to get together and just go to parties. That's how
Yeah,
I viewed it coming out of high school.
for sure. Yeah.
And since joining, I kind of have realized that it's more of a fraternities and sororities are meant as like a social club. Like if
Hmm.
you get down to like the bare minimum of what they're trying to do, like they're just trying to get people together and kind of just create, like you said, like a community.
Yeah.
And because those houses have thrown parties and stuff over the years, it's kind of developed into this stigma of like just like a thing you join to go to parties.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's good because I like having my perception change has honestly been kind of nice because I'm able to kind of see both sides
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
sense like, and I think that like my house specifically is like really into like making sure that all of our parties are safe and
Hmm.
making sure we're doing things right so that people don't feel like they're unsafe because that does happen at fraternity parties, which is really not good.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's something I really value about my house is like we are very very on top of like making sure like at each party we have these like people that have to be sober so that like if something were to happen and like
Mm.
nobody's like absolutely hammered and can't
Yeah.
like take care of the situation,
Uh-huh.
which is nice because then if whatever happens, we have like a safety net if need be, God forbid.
Yeah,
You know, so
for
I don't
sure.
know. I feel like Greek life in general has definitely pivoted toward kind of trying to break that stigma because it's I mean it really harms Greek life to have that stigma because then people
Hmm.
don't want to join it, which is fair because
Yeah.
I initially had that same exact thought process, but I'm glad that it's that my perception of it has kind of changed and it's helped me. I feel like it's rounded me better, which has been good.
Yeah. And I feel like, and yeah, that's the thing is I feel like, I guess it's not for everyone, but I do think like it's cool to see that like, there's more to meets the eye than like of like joining a frat, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not all like the stereotypical belief that everyone thinks it is, or like how it's kind of like played in movies or whatever,
Yes.
or popular media as a whole.
Yeah.
And I will say
Yeah.
and I've met like a lot of frat people like yourself included who like they don't seem like they're the typical frat person. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Hmm.
like you show like, oh, like yeah, no, like just because you're in a frat doesn't mean you fit into like this specific mold of a person, right?
Right.
So yeah,
Right. Totally.
that's definitely true.
Yeah.
um so this is kind of an unrelated question, but I was just curious because like, I, in the time that I've gone to college, like I haven't gone to a lot of sports events, and I
Hmm.
know like you've gone to like a good amount, if not like most of them, if you're
Yeah.
able to, right?
Hmm.
And so what has that experience been like? Have like has like like how would you rate those experiences?
So football games are the best.
Uh huh.
They're
That's the
like
main one.
to
Yeah.
me, yeah, that is like
Hmm.
I'm always looking forward because I'm also just really invested in like actual game because I mean I don't know in high school we'd go to the
We
we'd go to the Willamette
Yeah,
games and
but we didn't go to
it'd be
watch the
like
game.
no, we
Yeah.
didn't care about the games, but like
Yeah.
because like when I was growing up, I watched a lot of college football,
Hmm.
and so I kind of have more of an interest in the teams and like what's going on because I just
Right.
know more
There's
about it
higher
and I grew up around
stakes.
it.
There's higher stakes with
Yeah,
college
there's higher
football. Yeah.
stakes.
Hmm.
And and so when I'm actually going to the games, like I'm actually watching it and like I'm interested in what's happening.
Yeah.
And also it's a great social event.
For sure. Yeah.
And so football games, I try to go to every single home football game I possibly can.
Hmm.
And I think last year I don't think I did it the year before, but last year I managed to do it, which I was stoked about.
Hmm.
And I love it because you tailgate beforehand, you go to like a little pregame party or whatever with your friends, and then you all go to the game
Yeah.
and you watch the game and it's fun. You root for the Beavers because it's your school. It's like
Yeah.
it's a I don't know, for me especially like it's kind of a pride thing because I go to school here, so it's like I want to see my I don't know, it's
Yeah.
obvious
No,
like you
I
want to see
get
your
it.
team
I
win
get
at
it for
least.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so because I'm so interested in football, it's just I don't know, I love it and I'm pretty passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun time. You get to see all your friends. You go save seats for them, and you usually like the way that Oregon State has it is that the student section is right behind the players, and so the players will like turn around and interact with the students behind them and like take pictures with them and stuff,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. Um, and then basketball games, I don't go to as often because they're just not as big of a deal because there's so many of them
Yeah. Hmm.
compared to football. Because football is typically like one game a weekend.
Yeah.
Uh, and like only half of those games are at home. And so basketball though, there can be like 2 games a week that are at home, and so
Hmm.
it's not as big of a deal. And there's not a lot of people that go, but usually I find a friend or two and go with them, and it's also fun. It's not like basketball as well.
Yeah.
The Beavs haven't been that good this
Oh,
last year, which
yeah.
kind of sucked, but I
We'll
don't
get
know.
them
They're,
next
they're
year.
fun in that regard. Yeah, we'll get them next year.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then the third primary sporting event that I go to is baseball, and that is great when the weather is good.
Okay. Yeah.
And in Oregon, it's kind of a roll of the dice. Like right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
because especially because baseball season starts, I want to say in like late February, and the
Yeah. I have
weather
no
is
idea.
is not good
You
in
could be
Oregon
lying
when
and I wouldn't know,
so,
but
yeah,
I believe you.
that's true. But the weather in Oregon in February is terrible. So going
Hmm.
to a baseball game in February is no fun. But like once you get to like late April to May, they're pretty fun because the weather's good and you go with your
Yeah.
friends and it's definitely way more social because baseball is a very slow
Right.
game.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But they're fun in that regard, and I enjoy it because I have a lot of passion for the team and stuff. It's just
For
something
sure.
an extracurricular fun thing to go do.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
it's like I don't know. I feel like it's something like we can go, I guess, to like games like later on, but I feel like there's like you later on in life, when we're older. But I feel like there's
yeah,
something more like there's more of a rush you get when you go to a college
totally.
sports game when you're in college. I feel like it's like
Yeah,
it means more. Especially if it's your own
yeah,
team that you're rooting for. Right.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
So overall, like just talking about like college as a whole, like, being in a fraternity, like sports games, parties, like I want to know, like, what are some like standout memories that you specifically have? It could be like one specific one. It could be a couple if you want. Like what are some like really like memories that you feel like, they could be funny. They could be like really like, I don't know, heartwarming, I guess. Just stuff that you feel like you're going to remember, like when you get out of college.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of two,
Hmm.
and both of them, ironically enough, kind of go around going to a football game.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
um, the first one was the when I so the Beavers were playing the Washington Huskies up in Seattle,
Hmm.
and my buddy Wyatt and I drove up to Seattle and stayed at my grandma's house and actually like went to the game.
Uh-huh.
And it was we got there and I saw my grandma. That was great, of course. But we got there and then my dad's friend called me. His friend from college called me and was like, "Hey, I'm also at this game. I'm gonna get us tickets like right behind the football team." And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh my god, okay,
nice.
that's pretty awesome."
Yeah.
And so Wyatt and I went and uh, we went to the game and just the road trip up there was great. Uh, we got stuck on the bus because there's a huge bridge in Seattle that goes across Lake Washington, and
Uh-huh.
it's pretty long. And so we were in like really bad traffic because there was a football game, and I had to pee so bad. Like I was I was struggling. Like
Yeah.
it
That's
was
the
like life or
worst,
death.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were in
Uh-huh.
the middle of the bridge, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna make it." And I
Yeah.
managed, but
Oh, let's
oh
go.
my god, it was
Let's go.
brutal. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was, and then we saw my dad's friend, which was great, and he got us these awesome tickets, and he was great to me, and it was just I don't know, it was a really good night. And then other guys that go to Oregon State that were going with like separately from us, they came down and hung out with us,
Mhm.
and it was just like kind of cool because we were all like from a different school, like all together because we were in like this foreign place.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was great. That was a really really good time. That's like really the first trip I think I've taken, like a long trip that I've taken on my own with friends in college.
Yeah. And when
That I
what
can remember
exactly
off the
was
top of my
this?
head. This was early early November of this year,
Oh,
of
this year.
junior year.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So
Yeah,
fairly recent.
yeah. So
Fairly
that was
recent.
this year. Yeah, it was pretty recent.
Mhm.
And then
Cool.
the second uh, memory that I can think of was the another football game uh, with so it was the Civil War where we played the Ducks
Oh, okay.
down in Eugene,
Yeah.
and the night before, uh, Ellie and I, a good friend of mine,
Mhm.
uh,
Oh, she's been on the show
we
before. Shout out to Ellie.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah yeah, yeah Ellie
Yeah.
Ellie and I we were getting ready to go, and so there was this block party that happened on the street right in front of my fraternity house.
Yeah.
And so they blocked off, like we contacted the city and like had them block off the street.
Mhm.
And so all these people were going to be out, but the game was at like noon, and so this block party started at like 7 in the morning. And so Ellie and I were in Eugene because of Thanksgiving, because it was the Thanksgiving weekend,
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
and so we had to get up like ridiculously early, like probably like 5:30 in the
Oof.
morning,
Yeah.
to drive back to Corvallis. And then like you get there and it's 7 in the morning, and you're drinking alcohol because that's what people do at the block party.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it was just like, oh my god,
At
but it was just
7
so
in the
fun because
morning.
like 7 in the
Or
morning, and
that's
it was like
yeah.
super foggy, and
Damn.
like there
Oh
was just
yeah,
something about it
cuz
that was just kind of fun because we had all of our friends up super early, and then
right,
the
yeah.
the game was awesome because we all went and we ended up beating the Ducks, which was awesome.
Nice, yeah.
And yeah, it was a really, really good experience. I will always look back on that fondly. I got some good pictures of it too,
Right. Yeah.
which is just it's been good. And then I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, another memory came to
Oh,
mind.
another one. Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Let's.
Another one just came to mind,
Yeah.
which was literally like 2 weeks ago. We went to Lake Shasta in California,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and we got a houseboat, and basically the whole university, like all most Greek life in the university went,
Mm-hmm.
and you all take your boats to this one island, and you all hang out. And at night there's a big party on the mainland, and it was just super fun. It was like literally all my friends from college like were there,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw. I mean, we were just kind of in paradise because the weather was amazing, and you could just jump in the lake whenever you were feeling hot or whatever. It's just you have a huge lake right there,
Yeah.
and you're just hanging out with all your friends, and it was super duper fun. It was definitely like I was telling Ellie, like it's like probably one of the best memories I've had in college was just that, and it was so recent, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
and I can tell, like, I mean, like, I think the common theme between these stories is like, they're very like tied to the fact that you're in a frat, or like
yeah,
this like sort of like it's kind of like a common thing, and I feel like that's like a really cool way of like, it shows like being in a frat, like it can lead to some like really cool experiences and memories.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's awesome.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, no, it's great to hear that.
yeah.
I have one more question, sort of
Give
in
me.
like, yeah, to kind of cap this off, this little interview here.
Yeah,
Um, if you were like, I don't know, I phrased this in, you can phrase this in multiple ways, but I guess like, if you were talking to like someone that was going into college, or maybe they're interested in being in a frat, or maybe like even like yourself, like before you were in
yeah,
college, like what is like advice that you would give them, you know, now that given where
yeah,
you are
yeah,
right now.
yeah. That's a really good question, actually. I would say because my younger sister's actually coming into
Oh yeah,
college
there we go. Yeah,
next year, so
yeah,
I have had some reflection on this kind of stuff, and I would say you've got to you got to take everything that happens kind of in stride in terms of you got to just kind of take it in. You
hmm,
can't. I feel like sometimes I had this expectation that I need to be doing more, or I might be like wasting the time because it felt so finite to me.
yeah,
You got to kind of enjoy the ride and enjoy the moments that you have day by day, and whatever you end up doing, as long as you're enjoying yourself and you're getting your stuff done in college. That's another thing. Be on top of your school.
right,
Be on
yeah,
top of your school. Everything kind of
hmm,
falls into place.
yeah,
Just be on top of your academics and take all of the other experiences. Just let it happen, and also do things that you wouldn't really see yourself doing. Like if you get invited to go do something that sounds kind of weird, or I don't know, if there's something that you can go do that your friends are doing that you're like, I don't know. I mean, obviously within reason. If like people are wanting you to do hard drugs, I probably wouldn't advise you to go do
yeah.
that. But
Maybe
like,
that's maybe an exception. Yeah,
yeah, well, I'd say
maybe.
that's an exception. But
Yeah,
like, something that gets you outside of your comfort zone within reason. You gotta. I feel like it's something to go do, and it kind of rounds you better. And that's something I've kind of been trying to get myself to do more so recently, of just like doing things because I don't think it's going to be as opportune when I'm out of college.
yeah, for sure.
So, so going into college, take care of your stuff. Maybe check out Greek life if you want. If you're feeling like you want to try and make some more friends. If I don't know, in any situation that interests you, give it a
Yeah,
whirl. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's totally fine. It's not definitely not for everybody.
yeah, hmm,
In a sense that it's a very unique deal, and it's if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
hmm,
But I definitely think it's cool. It'd be cool to give it a shot.
yeah,
And that's something that I've kind of told my sister as well.
hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that that's probably the best advice I could give
No, yeah, that's good.
off
Yeah.
the top of my head.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, this was no overall, like this was good. Like considering this was all like very off the cuff. You voiced yourself very well.
Well,
Um
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. So overall, yeah, like thank you for doing this interview with me. This was a fun
Yeah,
time.
totally,
It was really cool
totally.
getting to hear, cuz some of these stories, like I'd never heard some of these stories. So it was cool to like hear them
Yeah,
for the first time.
yeah. And
Um
I'm glad to finally do it.
yeah.
So I've heard of the Chit Chats, and I've been wanting
The
to do one. So
the legend of Chit Chats. Yeah.
the Chit Chats, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to do it.
The Legend of Chit Chats, Tears of the Chit Chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cheers to the chit chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I hope to have you on again for another episode sometime.
totally, totally.
Perhaps with a few other guests potentially.
That would
Yeah.
be sweet.
Yeah, for
Yeah, we should
sure.
totally do that.
Cool. All right. Well,
Hmm.
that is where we will end off this episode then. Thank you, Parker, for being here.
Yeah,
One
thank you for
more.
having me.
Yeah, and thank you all for watching. Hope this was a fun like to hear these experiences and this what it's a little insight into what it's like to be in a frat, to be a frat boy, if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be a frat boy.
you're a frat boy, Parker. Yeah. By definition, but that doesn't mean that like,
By definition.
like you can take that multiple ways. I don't know. Either way, that's going to end off this episode. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Chit Chats. Peace.
Later.
What?